What's up, guys? It's Talon. Today we have the 5.3b patch notes, and I'm going to go over the champion and rune changes for you guys and just kind of talk about the meta and how I think that the meta will be affected based on this. So starting off with Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is getting buffed. He's getting more damage on his first ability base, so he's going to do extra damage obviously when he hooks someone in. His second ability will now slow him less after it ends, or slow him for a short less period of time, so now from 1.5 seconds to 1 second, and then on the second cast from 2 seconds to 1 second, so he's not going to get slowed for as long, so he's going to obviously have a bit better mobility with this. And then his ultimate is also getting more base damage, so overall Blitzcrank getting more base damage. I wouldn't say this is anything crazy to me. I saw I think it was Royal said on Twitter that he thought maybe AP Blitzcrank would be good here. I don't know if that's the case. I guess we'll have to see if something like that really does become meta, but I thought that I'd probably just see this mean that he's going to have a bit more damage in lane and might be a bit stronger when he hooks someone in. But I don't think this is going to make him that much stronger. I still think the main weakness of Blitzcrank is that his hook is his only really reliable CC, whereas champions like Thresh or Nautilus, the other hook champions, have a lot more reliable and easy to land CC and just are overall more versatile. So to me, he's still going to be kind of a niche champion that you can only really play if you're really good at him overall. And then we have Samira ultimate is getting buffed, so it's getting an extra 10% AD scaling, and to me Samira is quite bad in the meta right now. She only really works with certain engaged supports who can set up really nicely for her, and even in these situations, if the enemy have a lot of CC, it's extremely easy to shut her down even if she gets really fed. So to me, she's definitely one of the worst ADCs in the game right now, and I frankly don't think that this will change anything whatsoever. Obviously, you know, maybe every once in a while she'll get a kill that she wouldn't have otherwise gotten, but I really don't think that this does much as a whole. And then going on to Shyvana, I think this buff is pretty solid. So she's getting more base HP, more armor per level, so she's going to be tankier. She's getting an additional 2 stacks per epic monster slain, which is also quite nice for her. And then her ultimate is able to be gotten quicker now. She'll charge the Fury faster to get her ultimate, and she gets more health during the ultimate. So the main weakness of Shyvana has always been that you don't really have a ton of impact on your lanes early game. You don't have the possibility of ganking it until level 5, and even on level 5, your ganks are not quite as strong as other champions. And so this has always kind of been her weakness, is that she has to really farm to be very useful early on in the game. She doesn't have much strength. And so this will make her a lot tankier and make her more of a raid boss, more tanky, more strong in the later parts of the game. But she will still have that early game issue. So if you're a type of player who really likes playing this, you know, farm heavy style and really playing very selfishly, I do think that this buff is rather significant and that Shyvana will shoot up a bit in the meta. However, I think that those weaknesses will still be very present when she's playing against a champion like Lee Sin or Viego or Riven or Vi, who has so much more early game agency. And so I still do feel as though these weaknesses are very large, and that Shyvana's not going to be like a staple in the meta, but with these changes, she's going to be very, very insane late game if she does get to that point at a relatively even state. And then Ekko's first ability, Time Winder, is getting a cooldown reduction. It's getting more damage on its way out to people, just a little bit more base damage, and then a little bit more base damage on its way back in. But then they're reducing the damage to monsters, which roughly will like make it come in line with the fact that it's getting buffed. So just a buff in general, especially for the mid lane. And I do think that this is nice for him. I mean, the cooldown especially, I think, is the biggest part of this more than the damage, because he already has really insane burst damage once he gets on a couple items. And he's already been a bit of an underrated champion if you're quite good on him. I mean, he's hard to make work because he does have kind of a telegraphed ultimate in terms of damage, right? It's very obvious when he's going to try to ult onto you or whatever, so it's very hard to actually land that. But I do think if you're a really good Ekko player, you can get a lot of value if you scale well. Overall, I still think he's a better jungler than he is mid laner, and I don't think these changes are huge for him, but the cooldown reduction and everything will make his lane phase a bit stronger because he'll be able to farm and get back, you know, up to the later parts of the game where he can be a carry. So if you're really good on Ekko, I still think it's a good champion, but I don't think this is going to make him that much better than he already was, which was about average. And then on to Nautilus. So Nautilus is getting more base AD. He's getting more base damage on his hook, but he is getting less AP scaling. So this is basically a buff to support Nautilus, but maybe a slight nerf or keeping it in line with the AP, because you're getting a bit of a base buff, but you're getting a little bit of an AP nerf, so it's going to be pretty much the same damage when you're going AP, but a bigger buff when you're playing more of the tank Nautilus, like into the support role. And then he's also getting more shielding as well as better max health scaling on his shielding, so he's basically getting a major buff in support. I already thought Nautilus was quite strong. I think Nautilus will be the best tank support, if not the second best tank support in the game after this. I think Nautilus support is going to be extremely, extremely strong. Definitely very scary. Always a really solid champion. I mean, the kit as a champion is just broken. I mean, he has so much CC, so many forms of CC, and now with this buff as well, Nautilus is definitely going to be a very scary champion. And then we have something that I am very, very happy to see, and that's a Rengar nerf. Holy crap, this champ is broken. So he's getting less AD per level, which is great. The first ability is now going to have less base AD scaling, or less base AD with the bonus damage from it, as well as bonus damage with Ferocity will also do less base damage. And then with an empowered attack, also less of a damage boost, and less of a damage boost with Infinity Edge as well. So just overall, huge nerf in damage to his first ability. Third ability also getting a nerf in AD scaling, both regularly and with the Ferocity. So, and then the cooldown lastly getting a 10 more seconds cooldown per level, so it's also going to be nerfed there. So overall, I mean, this is a really, really big nerf actually. Like, there's a lot of stuff being nerfed. This is going to definitely make Rengar significantly weaker. He's still going to be very OP, very strong champion because he does pretty absurd damage and has a pretty broken kit. But now, instead of being at the very top of the meta, I would say he's probably going to be right below some of the best junglers like Vi or Lee Sin or Riven right now. So, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely very happy about this nerf. If you're a good Rengar player, you can still make him work, but he is a hard champion to make work if you're not good at him. So if you're not good at him, I feel like you won't be able to get as much value now, and only really the good Rengar players will find a lot of value still from Rengar. And then another great nerf, guys. Honestly, I think Riot Games has been doing a pretty good job with their balance changes. Now, I think there's definitely, you know, a lot of problems with the meta, but in terms of the champs that they have chose to nerf and buff in the last couple patches, I think it's been great, which, you know, brings me to Milo as well, who has been running rampant and been very OP in the support role, getting a base health and armor nerf, making her much squishier and easier to kill. Actually, I don't know if it, oh, it's a guy. Okay, him. Sorry, I sometimes forget the genders of champion. Milo is a male. Okay, so the base health of him is getting nerfed and the armor is getting nerfed, and then also the bonus damage from the passive is as well getting nerfed by 5%. So that's also a very large change. And then the Cozy Campfire is also getting a higher cooldown now, and it gives less attack range, which that's the most broken part in my opinion of Milo, is the attack range bonus. And so the fact that it's going to be less in the later parts of the game, to me, is a very good change as well. And then finally, the movement speed from the third ability also getting nerfed as well. So I mean, yeah, like, this is a lot of big changes to pretty much all parts of Milo. I mean, Milo's kit as a whole is still going to be very nuts. I mean, you know, healing plus bonus range plus all of these different, you know, things that they have with movement speed. They buff pretty much like everything that you should buff. So he's still going to be a very strong champion, but definitely going to be nerfed a bit, and probably, you know, definitely worse than Lulu now. I would say closer to like the Yuumi Soraka level. I would say like Milo and Soraka are probably going to be the second and third best like buffing enchanters, and then Yuumi's kind of below that in my opinion, and then Lulu's at the very top of all those buffing enchanters, with Sona maybe by like Yuumi. Right, and then like Nami, Janna are different sort of styles of enchanters, so I don't necessarily include them in that category, but that's sort of how I view it now, where Milo is going to be more on the Soraka level of things rather than where Milo and Lulu were really the top supports there. So I think that's overall a great nerf as well to Milo. And then a more surprising nerf, but not that surprising, was Janna. It does kind of make sense that Janna, she is, you know, with the rework that she had a while ago, definitely was always a very annoying champion, but I still didn't view her as quite as strong as Milo, Lulu, and those types of champs. But she is getting additional charge time on the first ability, as well as less damage on the first ability. And then the third ability, the shielding, is getting a higher cooldown as well. So maybe that makes you want to possibly max the shielding earlier because of this now. I don't know what they typically max, if they do typically max shield first or another ability, but might be something that Janna's want to look into now. But overall, I don't think this nerf is huge for Janna. I still think Janna is going to be a very good peeling champion into a lot of heavy engage comps. Still a very strong champion overall. Definitely still a strong enchanter. And then we have a Heimerdinger nerf, which again, thank you Riot Games. I love you guys. You know that the nerfs in this patch are amazing. I really love to see it. The turret on hit damage is getting less AP scaling. And then the turret laser damage is getting both less base damage and less AP scaling as well. That's really, really good. And then the third ability is getting less slow range and stun range, also a great change. And then the ultimate, when it upgrades the turrets, will now have less AP scaling on the on-hit damage and the laser damage as well. So again, I mean, this is a pretty significant nerf. Obviously, Heimerdinger is really a damage-focused champion. That's all that he really does. I mean, he has like a stun, whatever, but it's basically a champion where if you're dealing a lot of damage, that's when you're scary. If you're not dealing damage, you're not scary. And so nerfing the turrets and the source of his damage significantly, as well as the range of the stuns and slows, I mean, to me, is a very sizable nerf. I still think that Heimerdinger will be a very strong champion. He's also very good at stomping noobs because he's a hard champion to deal with and he's a weird champion to deal with. So I do think he'll still be very strong, but no longer at the very top of the mid and top lane meta. Because even though I thought kind of after the nerfs he might be out of the top meta, he still, you know, was pretty much the best top and mid laner of this patch. And so this nerf I think will definitely bring him down again to a more reasonable state overall. All right, and rounding out the changes, we have a bit of a mix, you know, between a buff and a nerf with Lucian, where he's getting less base damage, but he's getting more armor per level and more magic resist per level, so he's getting tankier but less damage. And then he's getting, which I think this is his PC passive, I don't actually play PC, but I'm pretty sure this is passive on PC, where now if you get healed or shielded, or if an ally immobilizes an enemy champion, then you get additional damage on your next attack. So I think this is why on PC Lucian Nami is so good, because you get healed and then you can burst people down. Or so now I think with any, you know, enchanters or whatever, Lucian's gonna be a lot better. And obviously if people, you know, your teammates are CCing people now and all this type of thing. And then the damage of the second bullet is also getting less damage early game, more damage late game. So that's another change. So I'm actually really interested to see this. If you guys don't know, Lucian's one of my favorite AD carries to play. I really love playing this champion, but I haven't played him much lately. And I probably won't play him that much this season because I'm really sticking to Varus and having great success with Varus. But I'm definitely very interested in the future to play more of this champion. So basically it's buffing dual lane Varus, or dual lane Lucian, and nerfing solo lane Lucian. So I do think this is really interesting. I actually am really hyped to see this change overall. And then his second ability will also give him the new passive as well. So that's something to note too. When an ally triggers it, you'll get that passive. So yeah, very interesting change. I think Lucian will be stronger with this patch, especially with like Lucian Nami, Lucian with Janna. These types of champs will be quite good. And then the final change is a rune change to Aftershock, which makes me happy because I use Aftershock on Vi. And so they're buffing Aftershock, so it gives you more armor, more magic resist when you do immobilize someone. And then it also does more damage once it pops. So overall, I mean, Aftershock, not a crazy change. This isn't going to do anything, you know. A lot of like tank supports will go Glacial Augment over Aftershock, and I still think that's usually going to be the case. But Aftershock, again, on champions who do use it, I use it on Vi, even though a lot of people don't. Sometimes maybe Maokai's will use it, or other champs can use it. And it will be a bit better, but nothing crazy. So, I mean, I think that's overall it for, you know, we're not going to look at the ARAM changes. I'm sorry, guys, don't care about ARAM. Hate to break it to you, but that's overall the changes for the gameplay and everything. Again, I think this is honestly like an A+ tier patch. I mean, you know, if S is the highest, I would say it's like an A+ tier patch. I mean, I love the changes. I think the balance has been great lately. People always, you know, they'll complain about the things that are valid, you know, matchmaking. There's other things that we can be frustrated about, but like the balance recently has been going in a good direction. I think a lot of these changes are really good. I think the champions who needed to get nerfed, a lot of them did, and a lot of the champs who potentially were a bit weaker got some interesting changes, some good buffs. So overall, let me know your thoughts on this changes, if you're excited about any particular change, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, really quickly, also, if you don't know, these will be out by the time this video is released, so if you're wondering if it's already out, it is indeed out if you're watching this video. Okay, now I'll see you guys later.